The Fix and Flip Summit?
Yeah, what's the date?
February 20th. Oh, there we go. Holly knows. Holly knows.
I was listening.
All right, February 20th.
Holly,
right?
Holly, let me ask you while we're live, okay? We got a lot of people joining right now, guys. Holly, what's the secret to listening? Like, how does one become a great listener? Let me ask you that.
You stop talking. You intently listen. It's a practice, and it takes practice. For sure.
I love that. Stop talking. That's the secret here. All right, Sean, are you gonna say what's up to everybody?
What's up, everyone? Welcome. Well, first off, I just want to say for everybody here. Oh no, sorry about that, guys. My picture fell.
The painting's falling.
The painting's falling.
Cover your heads.
All right, first off, I want to say, guys, thank you for joining us here today. What's today's date? February 9th, right? Tuesday. I know it's a chilly, cold night, and I want to really say thank you for joining us. We're going to have a really fun night. Personally, for me, I'm excited. So actually, let me tell you guys where you're at first. So you're tuning in to the Philadelphia Real Estate Investors Association, hosted by Nick Tang. Tonight's host for this topic of a fix and flip will be myself. My name is Radiant Sean. A quick background, I've been investing for about 4 years. So for me, this topic is really interesting because at some point I do want to become a fix and flipper. And what no better way to learn from than the top fix and flippers of Philadelphia currently right now. I also want to say, Elijah, thank you for co-hosting with me. I'm excited to be here, also to have you here. Did you want to say anything before we continue?
Holly, don't you feel everybody wants to transition into the fix and flip space? Isn't that like the typical story?
You know, I think it's the typical story when you first start, right? So because fix and flip gives you it gives you a nice large influx of capital, and you need very little money to do it. And you don't need great credit. So, you know, it's a pretty easy transition to get into investing.
Well, guys, I know you guys are pumped to learn about all those secrets that she's over here mentioning. But yeah, my name's Elijah. I'm going to be co-hosting with my man Sean today. He's going to be running the show today. So those of you guys who are part of our club, you guys know I normally run it, but Sean's taking over right now, and I respect the energy and hustle. But yeah, we're excited to be here. We invest all over New Jersey, New York, and Philadelphia. So excited to connect with you guys. And of course, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us speakers. We can get those questions answered for you.
Yeah, also, guys, please drop down in the comment section where you're viewing us from, whether it's from Philly, Jersey, New York. We want to know. We want to see how far we're hitting up people here.
I'm in Jersey City. I'm in Jersey City.
Jersey, Philly.
Dave, where are you tuning in from, Dave?
Philly.
Philly.
Holly.
Philly.
In the house. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay, guys, so let's just jump into this fix and flip. If you guys were ever curious on how these guys find their deals, how they fund it, how they target a certain area, here is the time to stay tuned, locked in, don't go nowhere, get your questions. Feel free to always, if you guys have something in mind, we're going to save questions for the very end. So if something pops up, just drop it in the comment section and we'll come back to it at the very end. So let's just jump into it.
So one important thing, Sean, we cannot forget the summit that's coming up on February 20th.
Right. Guys, one more thing. We have a fix and flip summit coming up. So the dates for that is February 20th. The time for it is from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. The cost of the summit is $97. But I also want to let you guys know that this itself is a private club membership. So to join the club is $200. But tonight, if you guys decide to join the club, you also get access to the Fix and Flip Summit coming up February 20th for a deal of $97. So guys, please take advantage of it. I think it's an awesome thing, especially if you want to get into that fix and flip game.
So just to be clear, for those of you guys who are new out here, we're so excited to have you. It's going to be an absolute awesome next hour and a half that we have with each other, especially with David and Holly here. Okay. But we are a membership club, okay? And so what does that mean? That means that we have our own little community. And in order to get access to this event, for those of you guys who are on Facebook right now, the live stream is going to shut off at 7:30 because it goes to the people who paid and that are part of our membership. Okay, so we have private events for our members. We have a whole educational website for our members. We give out our numbers. We're constantly in contact with our members. So the membership is a very special community because we make money together. I make money with members of our community and we just grow and grow and grow. So if you're someone who's out there and you're looking for a local community who's actually doing deals in your own backyard, you're going to want to join the membership. The cost for the membership is $200 annually. That means every year it's $200. Okay. We're having a very special event come up on February 20th, which is the summit. Now, the summit is going to be this fixed, we only have an hour and a half with these guys. Okay. We only have an hour and a half with these guys. And there's only so much we can cover in that time frame. Literally on February 20th, you're going to have an hour and a half with each speaker that's going to be speaking at that event. And these are people that specialize in the fix and flip space. So if you have any interest at all, you're curious, you're wondering about fix and flips, you're going to want to be at that event on February 20th. Now, the cost for that event is $97. So here's the deal, okay? We are putting it in the comment section right now. If you would like to attend the Fix and Flip Summit and join the membership, we're allowing you to do that over the next few hours for only $97. Okay, so the link is being posted in the comment section now. There's only a few tickets left for this, so make sure you guys get them now, especially if you're interested. And the comment section has the link, so you guys can sign up there, okay? Other than that, that basically wraps it up, Sean, so keep rolling, baby. And we got a T in the building. Hey!
Sorry, I was having some technology issues, but I'm here. Good to see you guys.
Good to see you as well. I love the plant. Is that a plant or what is that in the background? I love that.
It's wood. It's a whitewashed wood.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Welcome. We're doing good. We actually just got done going over the Fix and Flip Summit that we're having February 20th. So it's 9 to 5 that day. The link is in the bio, so if you want to promote that as well, you have it available to you.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, welcome and excited to have you here. I think the last comment I made to you was I missed seeing you, right? Because we always take a picture together, and
we do.
Really how the universe works, because here we are,
Yeah, we can get a virtual photo for now.
Right. Pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. All right, yeah, so we're just going to jump into this, guys.
You know what? Speaking of a virtual photo, while we're on this topic, everyone pull out your phones and grab a pic of this awesome live that's about to go down. I want to see the best selfie. Look, whoever's got the best selfie, I'm going to send you a gift. But I need to see evidence of this selfie. So everyone, I want you to take your best selfie for this Fix and Flip event. All right? Come on now. Here we go. Selfie time. Selfie in 3, 2, 1. Oh, this is awkward, but it's working, baby. All right, we're ready. Keep rolling, baby.
All right, yeah, guys. Stay tuned, stay locked in. We're going to ask each of the panelists a series of questions. Before we move on to the next question, we want to make sure that we get an answer from each and every one of you. Guys, also want to make you guys informed to kind of stay on topic because we only have about an hour and a half with you. So we want to make sure we hear from everybody. If you guys do go off on a little bit of a tangent, don't worry, I'll pull you right back in. And we'll get back on track. So let's start with the beautiful Holly. You were the first one here. And kind of tell us, what were you doing before you got into fix and flipping?
What was I doing before I got into fix and flipping? Okay, so I actually owned a day spa. So
no way.
Yeah, I owned a day spa. I closed that down and sold it in 2008 when everything started to kind of crumble. And I got into real estate. I also, became a minister. So I went to school for that and started wholesaling. And from wholesaling, got tired of waiting for my agent. So I went and I got my real estate license. Next thing you know, as soon as I had my license, I found 5 investors that I could, basically do flips for. I'm like, I'll do it. I'll find you the property, the contractor, do the design. I'll do the whole thing. I did 5 successful flips for 5 other investors for my measly little commission. And after that, I fired them all, and the rest is history.
Wow. That's amazing. I think I've known you for about 3 years, and I don't think I knew
that I owned a spa. And
yeah.
Well, with the way
I didn't know that either.
I was raised by, like, I had all older brothers, and all my older brothers' friends were my older brothers. So I have a mouth like a trucker. Nobody believes that I'm a minister.
No, yeah.
That's too funny.
I would have never been able to tell. All right, thank you for that. David Tran, you're up next. What were you doing before you got into fix and flipping?
College. I was in college. I just graduated. Just got started. Yeah.
Wow. And you just jumped into your first one.
When I graduated, I was a computer engineer, and then when I graduated, I couldn't find a job, and I didn't know what to do. And my uncle steered me. He was like, "Why don't you look into real estate?" And I was like, "What is that?" And he was like, "You don't know what real estate is?" I said, "No." Remember, guys, I've been stuck at home. I'm like a bookworm, kind of. Well, not bookworm. I just watch cartoons, but I'm just at home. I don't go out much. All right. So when he
favorite cartoon,
me,
you got a favorite cartoon? Just for anyone who's out there.
Woody Woodpecker. I don't know.
There we go. That one works. I love that.
Yeah. So he got me into that, and then he brought me out there one day to show me what real estate was. So he brought me. This was in 2004, and I was looking at houses with him, and I didn't know what I was looking at, and it was basically people lining up to buy houses, and in the Northeast Philly. So I was like, what am I looking at here? And the next thing you know, like a seller would sit there, agent would sit there. I guess 10 minutes later, agent holds up the paper. Everybody, you guys can leave now. It's signed, and I think the listing was at 140 and it sold for like 160 cash. And that was my first experience. And he was like, "Did you see it?" I was like, "Are we at an auction?" And from there, it was just like, it was like a bug that just went in me. I was like, "So what's supposed to happen? Like, what do I need to do?" And he was like, "Get a license and, sell real estate." I got a license. I went to take the school. I went to Kensington to learn because I wanted to find a crash course. Right after that, I realized that the brokers or the teacher was more interested in investors. And at that time, I didn't know what an investor was, right? I just knew that in the whole class, there was 2 investors. And those 2 dudes looked smart. And whatever the hell they was doing, I was like, I want to do that. So I went home and told my uncle, I don't want to be no real estate agent. I want to be an investor. And he was like, "Do you know what that is?" I was like, "No." "Can you just tell me?" And that's when I got started. He was like, "Look, you don't got no money. You don't got anything. I don't know how you're going to do this. Go find a job for 2 years, save up, and then start buying properties." And then from there, I was like, "No, I want to save time. I want to do it now. I want to do it now. How can I do it now?" He was like, "You can't." I said, "I'll figure out a way." And I started reading books. And, I started reading real estate books, how to buy your first property. I read like 20 books in like 9 months. Came back out. At that time, my uncle was like, "Yo, you got to stop doing what you're doing. Look, you're not going to be able to find deals or anything. Stop dreaming." I didn't stop dreaming. And my uncle was like, "Look, let me just put a stop to this. Let me put a complete end to this." We stopped around Temple. It's like Broad and Susquehanna. He pointed to an abandoned building. He was like, "Look, that property right there, I'll buy it. What are you going to do now?" And I was like, "I don't know. I got to look at my notes." From there, that's how I know everyone's got a certain amount of time. I don't want to go into the whole story, but I got into finding the owner of the property, right? It's a crazy story. I really, be honest with you, I got lucky because I went out there, I dressed up in a suit. I asked a security guard in City Hall.
Dave Tran was in a suit? You was in a suit? Oh,
Yeah.
Where was I at, man? Come on, yo.
Look, when you look young, people don't take you seriously. So right now, I'm almost 40. So when I was 24, 25, I looked like I was 16, 17. It was not
genetics, boy.
It was not going to work. So I dressed up in a suit, and I got led to one thing led to another, and I actually stumbled upon the address of the property, and I went to the house and knocked on the door. And I'll tell you more about that later because I got a gun pulled on me in my first deal. So yeah.
Wow. college, dreaming, learning, action. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's leading to your first deal, which we do want to get into. But before we do,
Tia, leave it to Tia now.
Yeah,
Bouncing the ball at you now.
Thank you. I'll catch it.
how did you get into your first, before fix and flipping, what were you doing? My bad.
I was working in television. I was a producer for NBC, CBS, and Fox News over a 10-year period. The last 5 years, 5.5 years was with NBC News. Last stop was NBC 10 in Philadelphia. I come from a long line of entrepreneurs, so it was a matter of not if I would become an entrepreneur, but when. It's in my blood. I was very quickly becoming unemployable. Just, the longer I stayed, the more uncomfortable it was for me, the more unhappy I was. I wanted more freedom. I wanted to be able to use my creativity. And I began to come up with a plan to leave maybe, by 2012, 2013. But something happened in 2011 that made it very clear for me that the time is now. And I took the opportunity and I left. And so 2021 is 10 years, a decade that I've been in business, full-time entrepreneur.
Congratulations, 10-year anniversary. Nice.
Thank you.
And by the way, not many people can say that. So just the fact that you've continued to show up is a big inspiration for all of us who haven't been in the game that long, or maybe for those of us who are starting off and haven't got our first deal. For a woman as powerful as yourself to be here and share that truth with us. We appreciate you. We appreciate you for being on this journey.
My pleasure. My pleasure. It certainly wasn't easy. The first 5 years was the hardest. It was extremely painful, actually. I thought about going back to get a 9-to-5, but the thought of having to clock in again, having to beg for vacation days, having to beg for a raise, it made me nauseous. And so I said to Tia, either you have to figure it out or you have to figure it out. Those are your two choices. And so I decided to figure it out. Yeah, it's come together nicely, and I've exceeded my expectations. So I'm grateful for that.
That's amazing. You definitely take life in control and make it the way you want.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I heard what the reason was, but in 2011 when you started, you said you found like that was your year to walk away. What was the actual thing?
So I had just come back from a vacation. My husband and I went to the Bahamas to visit his family. That's where he's from. And then, my coworkers, when I got back, they said, Tia, there's been a lot of changes in this week while you were gone, just kind of brace yourself. And next thing you know, I'm being called into the news director's office, and they told me that they were putting me back on the night shift. So starting out my TV career, I used to produce the morning news. So 6, 7, 8 a.m., which means I had to get in at 10 p.m., put the show together. My news anchors would come in, read over, because the news anchors, they're the face of my work, of the producer's work. And and eventually I worked up to getting a 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. shift, which was fantastic. So they wanted me to go back to coming in at 10 p.m. and I wouldn't get also 7, 8 a.m. Plus, to make it worse, they wanted me to work Wednesday through Sunday, which means my off days would be Monday and Tuesday. I'm in a city away from my family. They are everything to me. And so I would have to take a vacation day to go to a birthday party, to go to a barbecue, to go to it's just no way to live. I was making great money, but who cares if I can't spend it doing what I want with the people that I love. So I had to go.
Wow. That's beautiful. And for those two that are tuned in with us, you're getting 3 different perspectives here of, Holly coming from a business ownership and walking away, Dave coming straight out of college and just wanting to get right into it.
By the way, I have several beautiful ladies in here saying, Dave, you don't look over 40, not even a day over 27. So that's a big compliment, Dave.
Thank you.
And, I think I relate to you the most coming from a work 9-to-5 kind of background. And the difference is between me and you said you were making good money. I wasn't making good money at all, but we both still had the same type of drive to find something better. So if you guys can relate to any of those three, please stay tuned in. Don't go nowhere, because we're going to get into how they now got into their first deal. I think we want to go with Dave Tran, because you had an interesting story where I think was leading up to your first deal where a gun was pulled on you.
Yeah, so once I found out where the address was, I skipped some details out. Do you want me to go back to the details or just go straight to the gun?
I want all the details. First fix and flip deal. Let's dive into it. Let's go.
Yeah.
All right then. Basically, when my uncle owns a construction company. When he said that I couldn't find any deals or anything, he basically asked me a common sense question. He was like, David, if your house is worth $100,000, how much do you want to sell it for? I said $100,000. He said, exactly. How are you gonna find a deal? And I was like, what are you talking about? And then that was a good question because I never really thought about it. And I was just like, he was like, see, if you wouldn't sell for $100,000, why would someone else sell for $100,000? Go get a job. And I was like, I don't even know how. That's a good question. But I read these books and they do it. And I said, you know what? I read like 20 books. I said, how long have you been doing for construction for? He was like 30 years. I said, well, let you know, each book has like 20 years of experience. I kind of have technically 400 years of experience and they all done it. So you only got 30 years. And he was like, what? I said, just think about it. Everyone writes a book, right? They put everything in that book and they're all saying the same things, that you can do this. So I had to go with the Asian roots thing. I said, oh, why do you guys come to America? For freedom, right? What if I told you that freedom is in this book? And he had no argument. I said, my parents paid me to go to Drexel. I'm a computer engineer. I said, you guys told me to go to school my entire life. Now I'm telling you what to do after I graduate, and you're telling me I'm stupid. What? I'm the engineer. So he didn't have nothing to say. So he just said, look, man, you got to, I don't mean to crush your dreams, but look, get a job. And when he pointed to that property, I said, look, just give me an opportunity. He pointed to a property on Broad Street. He said, this is an abandoned property. If you find it, I'll buy it. I said, well, I don't know how much it's worth or anything. I don't know how to appraise the property. He said, this area, I don't know. This property is a mixed-use property, 3 stories on Broad Street. He was like, look, it's probably worth like $120,000. And I said, okay, so what do you want me to do? He said, look, if you can find it for $70,000 cash, I'll buy it. Go ahead. What are you going to do? And, obviously, I wrote a whole bunch of notes at home, like, and in the books, it says go to the county courthouse. Remember, I just graduate with no life experience. What does a county courthouse mean to a 24-year-old kid that have no life experience? It means go to court. And the only place I thought that there was a court that came to mind was City Hall. I never been to a courthouse. I never been anywhere. I don't even go out much. You know what I mean? So I went straight to City Hall. I wore a suit. And what I did was when people was walking around in City Hall, out of the train station, I went one person to another person asking the question, do you know where the courtroom is? Do you know where the courtroom is? Excuse me, do you know where the courtroom is? People was like just walking by me like, what the hell? And I'm just like, how the hell am I going to find this courtroom? Where is this courtroom? There's got to be a courtroom around here somewhere. And then I saw like a security guard. And I went up to him and I said, excuse me, officer, can you direct me to the court, to the judge? Is there a courtroom here? And he was like, which judge? And I was like, that's a good question. The judge that's in charge of the entire real estate of Philadelphia. He was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, look, I'm just trying to find an owner to an abandoned property. Can you help me out? He said, just go to the recorder's office. And that was room, like, I think 101. I don't remember the exact room. But he told me, just go straight down the hall. And he directed me. I went there. I went in the wrong room. I went to a title room. I ended up back in the right room, which was the recorder's office. And there was a lot of, like, nice little old ladies that work in City Hall. When they saw me, I remember their reaction. I guess they nudged each other. They're like, look at this. And obviously I knew that because I looked at Young, they didn't take me seriously. And they were just like, can I help you? Like, what can I help you with? And I was like, I'm trying to look for abandoned properties. Like, are you trying to buy it? And I was like, I felt offended. To be honest with you, I felt really offended. I said, no, I'm trying to buy the whole block. And they're like, they start laughing. And I got so angry, I walked away. And I saw this this guy with a bike, and he was on like these old green screen computers, like old school computers. Everything's just green, right? And I was like, excuse me, so what are you doing? He was like, well, I live across the street from an abandoned property, and just trying to find out if I could track this owner and cut a deal with him. I'm like, get out of here. Can you show me how to do that? And he was like, yeah, dude, you just type in the address and then it shows you where the taxes are being sent. And, the highest chances of finding people is tracking them through their taxes. So that's what I'm doing. I said, can I try? And he just moved over. He's like, yeah. And he showed me. And then I saw the mailing address and I was like, holy crap. I don't know where this is, but I can't wait to go home and see where this is. I went home, went on mapquest.com. There was no Google back then. It was just MapQuest, all right? So I typed in MapQuest. It wasn't that far away from that Broad Street property. And I'm like, sweet. So I know a lot of people know Philly, like I didn't. So this is like in North Philly, right? And I didn't know how dangerous North Philly was. I grew up in Albany. So, what's so bad about North Philly, I borrowed my dad's car. I drove the car to find a property following MapQuest directions right in front of that house. Like 4 or 5 guys across the street stopped, surrounded me, and then back then everyone wore like these Nautica puffy coats, pulled out a gun right at the I guess my windshield and just start tapping. And they're like, what the hell are you doing around the neighborhood? What the F are you doing? Actually, you're in the wrong effing neighborhood. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm trying to find the owner. And I remember that guy's name too, Jason Long. I remember his name. I'm trying to find Jason Long. And they're like, you know Jason? I was like, I looked at him like, he's a good friend of mine. And then he's like, you know Jason? I was like, good friend, man. Good friend. And at that point, he looked at me for like a minute and he put his gun back. He was like, come back in like 30 minutes. We're busy right now. We're doing business. They were selling drugs, I said, can I just leave a message? I just got to drop something off real quick. It's going to be real quick because I honestly was scared about to pee in my pants, right? And I did not want to come back. So I wrote down my phone number and my name. It says, please call. Around 5:30, he called me. And I was like, are you interested in selling this property? Once again, I don't know how I sound, but I thought I sounded like a man. And he, over the phone, he was like, "Was this a joke? Because you sound like a kid." And I was like, He's like, "You sound like a 10-year-old kid." And I was like, "Look, as a matter of fact, I'm trying to find a property for my dad. All right, he doesn't speak no English. Do you want to sell or not?" I was angry again. He was like, "Whoa, hold up. Yeah, I'm trying to sell this property." And I was like, "How much?" He was like, "How much?" 60,000. And at that moment, do you remember my uncle? He was willing to pay 70,000 for it. So I heard 60,000. I'm like, oh my God, this is not happening. I felt so amazed right there. This is my first time. And I was like, can I see it? Thursday, 1 p.m. I called my uncle right afterwards. I was like, yo, I was trying to play it cool, right? And I was just like, yo, you still want to see that property? He's like, what property? It's been like, like a couple weeks. He's like, what property are you talking about? Broad Street. Well, you found the owner? Yeah, I did. And he's like, oh, yo, yeah, I want to see it. I said, Thursday, 1 p.m. Is that good? Good. I confirmed it. We went to see it. The first time I walked in, I wrote down notes too. So back then I didn't know how to do comps. So I'm just going to tell you guys like how I do things, which is in the worst case scenario, like no education, no nothing. I went back to like I learned about there was a website online like OPA. It wasn't even OPA. It was just Philly.gov, and you can find out like what people bought their properties for. So what I did was I pulled out my notebook. I wrote down all the addresses that was around a 3-block by 3-block radius, and I wrote down what they sold for because I wanted to know what the area goes for. And I didn't know how to do comps, and that was the only way. So I did all that homework. I armed myself with a whole bunch of questions that the books taught me, right? And I never asked these questions before, but you know, I learned everything in theory, no practice, no experience. But when I met that person, before I met him, I told my uncle, let me do my first deal. You promise? Right? Don't, you know, let me do it. I want to do it. He was like, all right, I promise. I said, don't, I want you to talk to him. I want to talk to him. He said, all right, I'll give it to you. I talked to the guy, and I asked my uncle when I went in there, as soon as we opened up that door, there was no back wall, no roof, and a tree growing in the building. I turned around, looked at my uncle like, what the heck? What is this? I never seen, you know, just, I guess, 2 walls and, you know, the sky. So he went in, you know, the stairs was still in place. So he trying to walk up the stairs to see how bad the second floor joists were and everything. And he was like, he told me in Chinese pretty much, yeah, let's buy it. I said, get the freak out of here. How buy it? So I told him, no, can't buy this. I told the guy, look, you know what? I asked my uncle, how much construction do you think this is going to cost? And he, at that time, he said, what, my cost or what? Like my cost, it probably cost me $150,000 to do a triplex, right? He said, I'm not even sure, like depending on how I do it, it can go up. And he said, I don't know, man. Probably 130, 150. I'm just throwing out a number right now. I got to go home and sit down and do numbers. I said, all right. I told the guy, hey, look, you want 65 or 60 grand for it? If you can name one property that sold for 200 grand, I'll pay it. And because my guy said the construction is going to cost me 130 to 150, so I'll use the lower number because I'm just letting you know what he said. So 130 plus 60 is 190. You get any comp around there, I'll buy it, because he wanted to buy it anyways. And the guy was like, I said, well, let me tell you something. Like based off of what I know, this is a non-conforming collateral, and you know the banks are not going to lend you money. They're going to want you to fix it up, rent it out, make it performing, make it cash flow, and then they'll you know, refinance it. Otherwise, you're not going to get no money from the banks. And at that moment, he stared at me. He was like, damn, kid, you know what you're talking about, don't you? I was like, and to let y'all know, I learned all that from the books, word for word. I was like a parrot. And he told me that 2 weeks ago he went to the bank. And when he went to the bank, the bank told him the same thing, non-conforming collateral and yada yada, and they wouldn't give him no money. And he told me, he was like, look, man, you guys said you could do it for 130 grand. I'm a contractor. I quoted myself 170 grand if I did it my own hands. He was like, that's crazy. And he actually got my uncle's phone number, you know, for jobs and stuff. So he was trying to build a relationship with my uncle because he was like, yo, that's cheap, you know? And so it was all working out. And he said, look, all right. This is what we can do. I'm going to give you a deal, man. I'll sell it to you for $55,000. I'm like, nah. And the reason I said no is because I know that he bought it from a sheriff's sale the year prior. Do you know how much? $7,000. He bought it for $7,000. And I'm like, dude, got a lot of profit that he wanted to make. And I said, look, you can't even do nothing. Look, 55 is too much. He was like, how much do you want to pay? I said, 40. He said, get out of here, man. Forget it. And I told my uncle, let's go. I left because I told my uncle that I don't think it's worth it, because I asked my uncle, hey, how much can the apartments rent for? He's like, I don't know. I said, how much can the storefront rent for? He's like, I don't know. I said, how do you know this is a good deal? He's like, I feel like it's a good deal. That is the worst thing you can do, you know. Like he felt like it was a good deal, so I had no numbers, no nothing. So I told him that I'll find him another deal. I walked away. The guy called me back, and you know, at one point he said, "How about we meet in the middle at 50?" I said, "Nah, man." I said, "Look, the highest I'll go is 46. Take it or leave it." He said, "I'll take it." At that moment, I'm like, "Dang, I could have got 40," you know. But that was my first deal. I got it for 40 grand. Let's just assume that my uncle put in 150, right? I actually rented out each unit for 1,800, 1,700, and 1,800 for the first floor. So the bank appraised at 375. He got all his money back out, and some, and that's my first deal.
Wow.
9 months. Took 9 months.
9 months. That's amazing. So it wasn't so much of a flip, but it ended up being a hold, right?
Yeah, it'd be a hold. Yeah.
Still amazing, man. Awesome story. And you didn't get killed either.
I'm glad I made it. Like at that moment, at that defining moment, you gotta decide. Like I guess that defining moment is like, do you want to do real estate or not? At that moment, I'm all in. You know, you gotta commit.
Right. No, for sure. All right, moving along. Short on time. So, Holly.
Yes.
Your first deal, your first fix and flip, shutting down your business, jumping right into it. Well, I guess representing investors and then getting into it, right? So.
Right. So I shut down my business. It was a couple years before I did my first flip, right? It takes a little bit of time. I found it, I want to call it driving for dollars. Anytime I'm in the car, I'm driving for dollars. I'm always looking at properties, no matter where I'm driving, to see if I see something, you will beep behind me because I will stop in the middle of the road, take a picture, get the address, right? And people behind me beeping their horn. I don't really care. So I was driving to an appointment. I was out in West Norton, and I saw a house that was boarded up on the corner. It was right off of Trooper Road. It was a beautiful house, right? Got stopped, got the address, walked around, took a look, didn't invade, like didn't trespass or anything. Looked up the owner, called him, and he was from Germany. He's been in the country for about 40 years. It was the first house he ever purchased. And I was like, hey, are you looking to sell this house? I'm calling about the house that I saw, and I gave him the address. It was like Betswood Drive or something. And he's like, I was just about to call an agent. And I said, well, I am an agent, but I don't want to list your house. I'm more interested in buying your house. Could we meet? And could I see the property? So it was the first house that he ever bought when he came to this country. But he lived in a big, beautiful home now, right? And so he had tenants in it, and the tenants had a fire. And this is where I learned to love fire damaged properties, right? So in my younger days, I worked for this girl, and we did I'm talking like teenage years, right? So we did post-construction cleaning for large developments and some fire damaged homes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they look a lot worse than they actually are if you know what you're looking at. So either way, I walked through the property with them. I had no money, right? I had $1,000. I had no money. I offered him $50,000 for the property. We settled on 85, so my negotiation skills needed a little bit, right? We settled on 85. He wanted me to put $1,000 down, so I had to take the only $1,000 I had, and I put it down on this property, which was a little nerve-wracking because I had no way to purchase the property and I had no way to renovate the property. So I got it under contract. I'm super excited, and now I'm freaking out. And I think I wore a path in the hardwoods in the hallway upstairs in my house, pacing back and forth for 2 weeks, trying to worry about how am I going to get the money? And that's when I found out the money's always the easiest part. I just started calling everybody I know and telling them that I had a deal. And one night, some mortgage guy called me that I had never met before. And he's like, hey, my brother's a hard money lender and he'd like to lend to you on your deal. So he lent me the full my estimate on this house was $85,000 to purchase it, right? So that's what I had it under contract for, $85,000 to renovate it. And he was lending me all of it.
Oh, wow.
All the purchase, all the renovation, because of what I had the after repair value at. He felt that it was a safe deal. Awesome. Now I have the money. We're getting to closing. It's a day before closing. And I realized, because he tells me, I'm looking at the HUD and I'm like, hey, I'm not getting any money back here. He's lending it. And he's like, oh, no. You have to get this much of the renovation done before I'm going to give you any money, you'll get a draw once it's done. Well, my contractor didn't do that. And I didn't have any money to get them started. So then I reached out to realtors that I knew, and I was like, hey, who has money that wants to lend to me? So somebody lent me another like $25,000 to get the project started, right? So I had money to get like all the materials and get the house cleaned out and get the project started.
Mm-hmm.
So all that worked out. Money's done, right? We're working on the project. And I'm going up. It's my first flip. I'm there like 3 times a week, right? Because I'm excited. It's my first one. And I'm up there and I'm checking on progress and I'm doing design. And we actually found like there was a basement that you could not access from inside the house. And it had a fireplace in it. And it was really cool. So we like cut the stairs. We cut a space open in the floor and added access to the basement. Either way, the whole time we're working on it, every time I'm there, the seller was there looking at what we were doing.
Mm.
We're wrapping up. We're getting to the end where I'm picking finishes. And I was like, hey, Gerhard, you know, did you want to buy the house? You're here. Did you want to buy it back? You're here all the time. And he goes, yeah. And I started laughing because I thought he was joking. And I said, well, then you should go downstairs and pick your finishes. I'm going to pick the carpet for the basement and the tile for the bathroom down there, you know, if you want to pick the finishes. And I went to go down the steps. Mind you, he was a big guy. He was like 6'8". I'm little. I'm like 5'4". And he's like, and I was a lot littler then. And he stopped. He's like, no, I want to buy the house. And I'm like, are you serious? And I was like, $280,000. Again, I needed to work on my negotiation. I sold it back to him for $260,000. It was 52 days from purchase to resale. When I went back into the township to tell them I needed the resale cert, they're like, okay, do you have the buyer's name? And when I told them it was the seller, their jaws dropped. Everybody started busting out laughing, and I was hooked. I made a shit ton of profit. It was in 52. It was the most amount of money I ever made in the least amount of time in my entire life. And I just sold it back to the seller.
Wow, it couldn't have worked out any better than that. Is he still there?
It could not have worked out any better than that.
Is he still living there?
Huh?
Is he still living there?
He wasn't living there. He had a big, beautiful house. I don't know what he just wanted it back.
Oh, wow. And he probably still owns it now then.
He does still own it now.
Oh, wow.
I still talk to him every once in a while. He still owns the house now. So, like, I mean, essentially, it caught on fire. His tenants left. He collected his insurance money. I gave him $85,000 to purchase it back. So he had the insurance money and the $85,000 I had. And then he was just like, okay, now it's all done. Here, let me give you back all the money and I'll take my house back.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was an amazing first flip. Like, there were no issues. There was nothing. The house came out beautiful, and it was all done in 52 days, and it was cash. I didn't have to deal with realtors. I didn't have to market it. I didn't have to do anything.
I love your mindset, Holly. I guess throughout the time of me hearing you, I don't hear you kind of ever self-doubting yourself. You just was like, hey, you know what? I have the deal. Let me find the money. All right, I got another problem. Let me find some more money.
There was plenty of moments of panic in there. And I'm sure like everybody else can agree to that. It's just like, you just have to kind of push past the panic. Like, you read all the books and they're like, just do it. It's like the Nike thing, like, just do it. Right. So you do it. And then you're like, oh, what do I do now? Right. So you just keep pushing, you know, there was definitely panic.
Yeah.
There when I was, you know, under contract and had no money. So.
All right, moving along. Atia, I'm excited to hear your story because I think I relate to you the most, coming from a 9-to-5 background. And I guess, you know, when you realized in 2011 that you're not going to take that shift change and you just kind of went head first, what was it like getting into your first fix and flip?
So it's interesting. The first 5 years, I didn't go straight into real estate. So I never, even though at that time I was already a landlord. So I had, before going to NBC in Philly, I worked at NBC in Raleigh, North Carolina. And, so when I lived in North Carolina, I was just from the age of like 19, I was fascinated with real estate, and I just wanted to buy a house. So I bought my first house at 23 in Raleigh, North Carolina, while I was living down there working for NBC News, living paycheck to paycheck. I could barely afford this house. So, and to make matters worse, it's 2007. We know what happened in 08, 09. I buy this house, new construction, and new construction makes a horrible investment for an investor. If you're going to live there, it's great. And the developer who did the work, it's great for them, but terrible for for a real estate investor. But anyway, I just knew it was a good neighborhood. I could rent it out. And so I lived there for 11 months. And then I rented it out. So that was my first rental. But anyway, back to your question. So when I left NBC, I decided to start a coaching and consulting business because one of my first loves is speaking. Point blank, period. I mean, I was a little kid in every single school play. I would run for student government office and win every single time. Not really because I wanted to be, the class president, but I just wanted to speak on the stage. And I knew that was my chance to get on the stage in front of everyone. Anyway, I started a coaching and consulting business around speaking, and it didn't do well. And so that's what I mentioned when I said, okay, either you got to figure this out or you got to figure this out, because it wasn't working. I wasn't making much money, even though I left. And I'm sharing this because I know there are tons of people probably listening to this that want to be a full-time entrepreneur. And social media makes it seem so sexy and makes it seem like everyone's a millionaire. But you better believe the folks that you admire had to go through some adversity and struggle to get to where they are, just like, Holly and David shared. So I certainly went through mine. During that period, I felt embarrassed. I felt ashamed. I was actually used to being a high achiever. I was a kid who always made good grades. And I landed my first TV job at 19. I'm the youngest, always the youngest person in the newsroom, making good money. So then to come out of that and fail, when I say I failed like 5 years in a row, it was painful, barely making any money. I just felt super ashamed. Like, what's wrong with me? Am I broken? Like, come on, whatever. And so my first flip was my last ditch effort to figure something out before going back to get a job. So I said, okay, I love, and it wasn't until you asked that question that I realized that is essentially, what that was. So I still had my other business open. I still had clients, even though I was barely making money. My husband and I, were we still living? So when my husband and I got married, I moved into his home. He lived in Delaware County, right outside of Philadelphia. So I felt comfortable with that neighborhood because I'm not from the Philly area, but I moved here in 08. So I said, okay, I'll do a flip out here. I said, people on TV, it looks amazing. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna do it. And I did have a slight leg up because my dad was a general contractor since the day I was born. I was not interested in construction or real estate, but I obviously picked up some things along the way. I think it kind of caught me by osmosis. And because I always tell the story about, when other kids were at summer camp, I was running around my dad's job. Like, that was our summer camp. We didn't have a lot of money. They didn't have and there was 3 of us. My parents didn't have a lot of money for childcare, so we would just be at work with daddy, which was cool. And I found a house that was in Lansdowne for $50,000, and it wasn't a full gut. I just cleaned it up, spent $50,000 to clean it up. So I did, the floors were in great shape. So we, sanded them down, waxed them, made them, nice and shiny again. I did gut the kitchen and bathrooms because those things were as old as I was, maybe older, hadn't been updated since I was born, certainly. Had the yellow oven, you know what I mean? Like,
Classic.
Yeah, the classic. So yeah, gutted the kitchen, gutted the bathrooms, and just cleaned up the floors, made it shiny, painted outside, fixed the garage, got rid of all the vines growing up the side of the house, and sold it for $150. So I bought it for $50. I put $50 into it, and I sold it for $150. And I did that play, so first of all, it went off the market maybe like 4 or 5 days. I was like, this is amazing. Went under contract 4 or 5 days. I was like, this is amazing. So I'm under contract, multiple offers, like 3 or 4 offers. And I picked this one offer, and I really should have picked any other offer, but her offer was the highest, was the best. Come to find out, we are like 3 days before closing. I can literally feel the cash in my fingers. And the bank did that final credit check that they do before closing. And come to find out, she had filed for bankruptcy, and she lied about it. And they just didn't catch it on the first time they did the soft inquiry. They didn't catch it. So now they won't give her the money. And the house has now been off the market for 35 days, waiting for closing, has to go back on the market. Wow. When I had multiple offers. That hurt, but we all know that it's those challenging moments that teach us the best lessons that we never forget. So, and it was crazy. What I learned was that, she had her earnest deposit, obviously down.
Keep that, right?
Right.
You would think so, right?
Yes, she lied. That's a default.
Exactly. And she signed it. It's in the contract that it's a default. And you would think I would just get the money. Well, what I didn't know was legally she has to sign off for them to release the money to me. And she refused to sign off. So I had to take her to court. So I filed a small claim in court. It was like $5,000. Again, she refused to let the title company release it. I didn't know that was the law. It's like, this is the contract we signed. She signed it. I signed it. We can see she's clearly in default. I should just get the money. And it does not work that way. So I learned something. So anyway, I took her to court. They end up sending us back to mediation. She's like, oh, I didn't know. I knew I would go into bankruptcy at some point, but I just didn't know when it was going to happen. And that was her excuse. She just didn't know. I didn't know this. I didn't know that, whatever. It's like, you telling me you filed for bankruptcy. There were no letters sent to you. No one kicked you out of your house. No, whatever.
She fills out her BFI. Have you filed for bankruptcy? No. You lied.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. So, and even the judge, but he still sent us to mediation. We agreed she needed like $500 or something like that. And I got the rest. I was like, fine. I was trying to get to my niece's recital. And if I stayed for the actual case to get the extra $500, I would have missed my niece's recital. So, I took the $4,500 and was like, you suck. And, learned my lesson, but it was good. I was very happy with it after all my holding costs. Because I did get another buyer very quickly. It was a beautiful home in a great location in a great neighborhood with parking. So I got another buyer, just took another 40 days. And I felt great about it. And I said, I made more money on that one flip than I had made all year in my other business. That's how bad I was sucking. So I said, okay, I'm going to do this some more. So I basically at that point shut down my business, got rid of all my clients. Was like, yeah, thanks. Between us. And I went on to do that 3 more times that year. And that it was great. I made 6 figures in that first year, which is what I was fighting to get back to, because I was kissing 6 figures when I left NBC. I was only 27 years old. That was like amazing money for me. Yeah, so it was good, but then, and I know this goes on another topic-ish, but I was happy until I had to pay taxes on all those profits. And I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
do I really want to be doing this? And then that was another pivot for me, which was fantastic. So I'll stop there.
Right. Awesome. It sounds like, one deal for each of you guys really kind of set the tone for what your future would be like. And I really want to get into one of the most important questions of a fix and flip is really the rehab, the renovation and stuff like that. So I know, Atia, you were lucky enough to have your father. I think, Dave, you had Uncle Jay. Holly, I'm not sure how you were doing it. I mean, I know now, but I meant, how are you guys doing it? I would say actually now, do you guys do contracting yourself? Do you hire out? Do you sub? Like, I think that's an important question we want to touch on. Also, people, guys, if you guys have questions, drop it in the comments. Let us know what you guys want to know as it comes to you. We'll come back to the questions later at the end. But Atia, let's just start with you. I know that you had your father then. Is that currently the same situation now for your construction?
No, so by that time, my dad had actually passed away, and it would have really tripped him out because, my parents had 3 girls, but I was my dad's mini-me, point blank period. His name was Bill. They called me Little Bill growing up. And, but everyone knew I would always go into communications. My degree was in broadcast communications. And so that's what I was doing when he passed away. I wasn't doing real estate. So I didn't have him there. But, he was with me in spirit for sure. And he did teach me a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So, again, watching HGTV, it's easy. It's so easy, right? And so I did hire contractors because I at least had been a homeowner at that point. So I had hired contractors for little jobs, never a full, renovation or anything like that. But being around my dad, a contractor, and all of his friends, the guys who worked in his crew, I was around them every day. I would be in the front seat. My daddy would take us to school every day, and all the guys would hop on the back of the pickup truck. This is before it was illegal for people to ride on the back of the pickup truck. And so I was used to being around all these contractors all the time. So I know a lot of women are super intimidated by that, but it was just, another day for me. So that really did play to my advantage for sure, me being so comfortable. And so anyway, I hired a guy that was referred to me by a property manager, because at that point we had rented out the house we were living in, my husband's first home. We decided to move. So yeah, he comes in, but I'm still trying to save money. So he's going to do the work, but I'm still trying to save money. So I was in there doing like a little drywall work and just whatever, painting, doing different things. And now I do not do any of that. But what that actually did was I really earned the respect of my crew, and I can go on and on about that. But yeah, I really earned the respect of my crew. They were just shocked that I was just in there with them, getting dirty, going home, sweaty, covered in paint, just like them. And I did that on one more house. And then after that, I stopped doing that and just paid them to do it, because I realized that it was more valuable for me to be taking my time to look for new deals than it was for me to be doing a job that I'm paying someone $20, $30, $40 an hour to do, essentially. And yeah, so that was my experience with contractors getting through the renovation. And it was cool because initially all I could afford was one renovation at a time, one house at a time. But I was super disciplined. I would reinvest just about everything I got. And so then I was able to afford like 1.5 houses. I couldn't afford like to buy a whole house, but I could afford to have an earnest money deposit to put down. And it's just like, we got to close this one before I can get into that one. Of course, I didn't tell them, but so then, 1.5 turned into 2. And then, I learned about leveraging other people's money. And with that, today I have 6 rehabs going on right now, leveraging other people's money. So
is the 6 that you have going all with the same crew then that you've just been rolling with?
Yeah, so it's interesting. That first crew that did that first flip, how many years ago was that?
All right, that's what I'm saying.
It's like 6 years ago. So he is now my project manager. I trust him, and he has my back. And his crew is too small. So then I was doing singles. Now I'm doing almost all multis. His crew's too small to roll through those as quickly as I need him to, but I still trust him. So, and You guys know I'm a mentor as well. So I'm doing the rehabs and then teaching people. It's a lot of work. And I have an Airbnb business as well. So it's a lot of work. So anyway, I hire him so I don't have to be in Lowe's and Home Depot every day. I don't have to go to the job site every day. I don't have to be taking calls from contractors, you know, from the time the sun goes up to the time it goes down. He's doing all that for me.
Right.
So that's the model that's working well for me right now. Did I answer your question?
No, you sure did. You're pretty much still with the same crew that you started with.
Oh, so that's what I was going to say. So he's not doing the work, but he puts his eyes on everything because his eye is so good. It's so sharp. And so he has other little jobs that he does because, again, they do bathrooms, kitchens, not like full-fledged renovations on multifamily properties. So I do have I have 2 contracting crews, and then I do move my subs all around to the different properties.
That's pretty cool. I think we could probably dig into that all day and every day because it entails so much. But I definitely want to hear from David on who is doing your rehabs. Is it still associated with your uncle? You have another crew? So tell us what you got going on.
I'm going to make it short and leave the rest to Holly. At first I actually did a lot of different things with construction. I just like to play, you know, in short. Over the years, I worked with my uncle. I had friends that did construction. Then I tried doing some light rehab work with myself, with my girlfriend at the time, now wife. I did things with my friend. Then I started taking like college kids and started teaching them fixing flips where they didn't know construction. And I even helped out like family members do it like the hardest way possible, which is like wait in front of Home Depot and hire like workers in the morning that just like all lined up. I tried every way possible. And I think that it's interesting because like I'm pretty sure everyone has systems, price breakdowns and all these things by now. I didn't know anything. And that's how I wanted to do it. I wanted to see if it's really that hard if you want to do it. And I'll tell you, from each and every scenario, there was challenges. They went over price. But I found that the main thing is finding the right property. And I actually sold a lot of these properties myself too. And I listed it and I always sold it and I always broke even or made a lot of profit. But my first year, it was usually with my uncle though. But in all the scenarios of my 15 years, I tried different things because I want to know, is it possible for anyone to do? Because I love helping people get started. And that helped me feel, I guess, fulfilled in what I do. And it as long as you really want to do it, anyone can do it. Because listen to my story, I'm not the smartest kid on the block, you know, but it worked.
Yeah.
And I'm still here. And I just want to show people that if I can do it, you can do it too. So
that's pretty cool, Dave. It seems like you tried a lot of different methods and either broke even or made a lot of money. So you can't go wrong. You know, I guess you gotta just pick one and apply. But thank you for sharing that, David. Holly, I mean, I think I know what you do now, but currently, what can you share with everybody how you're doing your rehabs?
With the contractors. So contracting and working with the contractors and finding good contractors depending on the project that you're working on, I think is probably one of the most difficult aspects of what we do. Finding the deal and finding the money, pretty easy in comparison as to finding the right contractor to do the job, right? So if you're doing an old house, you need to keep lots of character. You need a different kind of contractor with a whole different skill set level than somebody that has to break it down brick to brick and rebuild it again. The very first flip that I did, the way I found the contractor, I was a real estate agent. I helped a buyer buy a rehabbed house in Philly. The seller was the contractor. I contracted that seller to do my rehab. So, and he did really great for the first 3. And then he just went lame, right? So I'm always like when you're doing this, I think you're always looking for contractors. You're always looking for GCs. And when you find good subs, you treat them like kings, because like you want to keep them in your circle and keep them working for you. I have some really great subs that no matter what GC I work with, I'm like, this is who we use for this, right? Like, this is my HVAC guy. I think you should meet him. I think you'll really enjoy working with him, you know? So I'm always looking for them. And I think one of the best advice I ever got from another investor that does a ton in the business when it comes to contractors was hire slow and fire fast.
Hire slow,
right?
fire fast.
So, it's absolutely true. And the lessons that you learn with your contractors as you're going through these large renovations or even small renovations, you don't learn those lessons and stick with it, because because the first time you go, okay, yeah, no, I'm going to trust this guy because he's not going to do that. That lesson's going to come right back at you. It's going to come right back. So, I mean, like, you will always, it's just one of those things you have to keep an eye on until you have someone like Atia has that's watching all those guys and really knows what's going on.
Right.
So I kind of have Lyle for that.
Yeah.
You know, to go down and watch the guys and see what's going on. And then, like, because Lyle is a contractor and he's like carpenter extraordinaire, whenever I have something specific, like, my flips aren't vanilla. Each one has a specific personality to it, right? So depending on the area, the house, the character, all of that stuff. So his job is he goes in and does all the really special touches that you might not be able to find somebody else that could do that.
And
That's how we get
who's
our house
Lyle?
featured in like Philly magazine. My other half, my husband.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love Lyle.
Everybody loves Lyle. He's so awesome. I'm the bad cop. He's the good cop. So that's yes.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're always really on the lookout for good contractors. It never stops for you. And you touched on something that I think is important to a lot of viewers and even myself, is that you said finding the deal and the money is easy. For me, I think finding the deal is a little bit harder. That's just for where I'm at. But I want to ask you guys in maybe like 2 to 3 minutes, with everything going on today as far as COVID and stuff, how are you guys sourcing deals today? Holly, let's start with you, or Atia. I think you was getting ready to say something. Go for it.
I can. I was just gonna say it's basically the same. As far as finding deals, it's really the same. You know, I'm in a position now where people know that I'm buying, so I do have, you know, deals coming to me frequently. But then, you know, you just do the work, set up your system. So I have, you know, the places that I go to look for deals. One of them, and I'll just put it out there, it's not rocket science or anything, the MLS. A lot of people have turned their back on the MLS because we're in the seller's market. You know, prices are through the roof, always a multiple offer situation. So I'll give a great tip. So while everybody was like drinking cider, doing whatever for Thanksgiving and Christmas, I decided to look for deals. I mean, I enjoyed my family time, but I just took a few minutes to see what was on the market. And this house popped on the market. It had to have been, if it's now, yeah, so it was the Christmas. And this great triplex in an area where I already own a couple triplexes, so I knew the numbers in my head. I did not really need to see the property. I was like, let me make an offer. So house hits the market. I go to make an offer. The agent's like, no, you have to go see it first. I said, fine. I wasn't in Philly, I was in DC. So I popped into Philly. I was like, okay, I saw it. Same price, you know, whatever. They wanted, they count, I think I offered 80. They countered me at 95. They countered me at 95 and I accepted it. I just know this area is booming. So I said, all right, I'll pay the extra money, whatever. And nobody else bid on this house in like 4 or 5 days. Cause you know, that time between Christmas and the New Year is really quiet, you know, typically. And as soon as so I'm under contract, we signed all the documents, everything. The second I went under contract, 20 offers came in like the next week. And they were trying to do everything they could to make me uncomfortable. It's like, oh, well, this and oh, well, that. I was like, well, we're going to deal with this and that, you know. So this and that's not going to make me not buy this deal. And it was a foreclosure, a bank-owned property. So anyway, I'm still finding deals the same way I was finding them before. Am I finding them on the MLS the same way I was finding them, you know, when I was, because all my flips, every single deal came from the MLS before. And now I rarely get anything from the MLS. I buy from all over the place, from wholesalers, from other investors, you know. One thing I love about Philadelphia, it's an amazing community of investors supporting each other. We're doing the same thing and we support each other and love each other. We're happy to see each other. So I've had many investors bring me deals and I share deals. And so I'm honestly really finding them the same way. They are a little more expensive, Sean, but you got to pay to play. And, you know, while David was talking about that property on Broad Street, it jogged my memory to, you know, I guess that's 2 summers ago because 2020 was the summer that didn't happen. So my husband and I were having dinner in this Italian restaurant on Broad Street, and the owner came over and sat down, very friendly mom and pop type restaurant, came and sat down and talked to us about how much, just, you know, I guess she was asking about the food and she asked me what I did for a living. I told her, you know, I do some work in real estate. And so she asked me, how much do you think this building is worth? And long story short, she just talks about how when they bought it 10 years prior and they paid, I don't know, maybe $200,000 for the building, they thought they were paying way too much. And currently at that time, the property was worth, you know, $1 million, and they own 3 of them.
Oh, wow.
And so anyway, I know better than to lose a deal off of $5,000 or $10,000. You know, I was raised in the DC area. The house that I grew up in, I mean, my parents got it for like $30,000. It's worth $1.5 million now. Whole Foods moved in right across behind the block where we live. So I understand what's happening, and yeah, so I might process deals a little differently than the other people, but I think for the most part, it's the same. The numbers have to make sense. And I don't buy deals that make sense tomorrow. They have to make sense today. Right. And the goal is for them to, you know, obviously be a significant wealth generator long-term, but as long as the deal makes sense today, I'll still pick it up.
Awesome. MLS, guys, don't sleep on it.
Sleep. Yeah.
All right, so Holly, I think you said you're still driving for dollars always. I mean, I hope one day I'm as lucky to just sit behind you, watch you do your thing.
You're not gonna move if you go behind Holly, yo.
So, yeah, right. Yeah, you're gonna stop. You're gonna be beeping at me. No, driving for dollars. Like, I don't specifically go out driving for dollars anymore. It's just if I have to go, like if I'm going to the store, I don't take the main route to the store. I take the back roads to the store and go a different way, and I just check out property as I'm going because I love real estate, so I enjoy looking at it, right? Yeah. And I'm with Atia, the MLS. I locked up a great 6-unit turnkey building on the MLS in a fabulous area with a DSCR of 2.5. Right. So, I mean, there's deals on the MLS. You just need to know how to look for them and place the offers. Right. Find out what the seller wants. Wholesalers, off market, like, you know, with my driving for dollars, I have lists of people that I call. You know, I have about maybe a half a dozen properties or so right now where I'm talking to sellers and I'm preempting them to get them to want to sell, you know.
It's all in the follow-up.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're harder to find right now. I will say that because there's a low inventory historically everywhere.
Yeah.
And they're a little bit more expensive when you find them. But, like, if you're doing rentals or if you're selling, like if you're doing a flip, be careful with your numbers, right? Because you want to make sure you can get in, get the renovation done, and get it out and sold before we have a shift, right? So these are things, because in all real estate, you make your money when you purchase it. All your money is made on the purchase. That's going to cover everything else. And like for your buy and holds and your rentals, interest rates are so historically low. You can pay a little bit more for the property and it's a wash. Like you're still getting the same cash flow because your monthly payment is that much lower because of the low interest rates. Like, so there's just different things that you want to look at as you're looking for deals.
Got it. So it doesn't sound like much have changed. Just because we're short on time, Dave, real quick and maybe like a minute or two, how you're sourcing your deals.
Wholesalers.
Hey.
Wholesalers, right? Just wholesalers. I love wholesalers.
Guys, if you're a wholesaler, bring your wholesalers to Dave. He wants to buy it. Atia buys. Holly always wholesalers bring it to us. Okay, so I really want to get into an important topic. I think a lot of people may struggle with this, especially when you're starting new, is sourcing capital. For a lot of newbies, I would say maybe like myself that's trying to get in, and a lot of viewers on here, how would you guys recommend, getting capital, get into fix and flipping, private?
Where do we get all this money? Where's the money coming from, man? If you're starting off new, let's say you got a little bit of money, maybe you don't have much money. Where's the money coming from? How we get it?
Anybody? I know Holly, you said.
I'll jump in. So after I did my first flip, right, and I found that money, that was one flip. I didn't have a whole lot of experience. You're not going to hard money lenders like, hey, I did a flip. I sold it back to the seller and, lend me all your money. One of the best ways to find it is, what's your value? What are you adding? Find a partner. I went to a RIA group. I was like, this is the deal I have. This is what I found. And I found people that I connected with, right, that had the money. They put up all the money for the next like several flips that I did. They put up all the money. I was the boots on the ground. I found the deal. I ran the contractor. I stopped at the project. So I made sure everything was happening. And then when we were all done, I sold the property for us, but they put forward all that. So I found a partner and I JV'd on projects. That's a great way to find money and get experience so that you can then go to other lenders and be like, here's what I've done. Here's my experience. I've done this, 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 and this. And they're like, okay, great. Yeah, no, we're going to lend you money. So, that's an awesome way to do it. Working with a team and working with other people is always a great way to do it. There's tons of people out there that want to invest in real estate and have the money to do it and just don't have the time.
Right. I also like your Asian background. You said you represented like 5 investors, learned from them, and then got into your first one. So
great.
Guys, don't be scared of taking a little bit longer of a journey to get into something when you have a little bit of capital. But Atia,
Holly, quick question. Do you find most of the people that you're running into that want to lend, like, are they wanting equity? Or like, how are they wanting to be involved, and how do you prefer for them to be involved?
So in the very beginning, the partners that I took on were equity, right? But I can't complain because after I did my first flip, I want to say the next 10, I had no money in them and I got 50% of the profit. They put up all the money. I ran the project and I got 50%. So there was no problem there. Now it's usually nobody really wants equity for the people that I work with now. They're just looking for a return on their investment. Mm-hmm. They're looking for interest on their investment, and that's about it. So
for the new people listening, what's a good average of interest to stay in?
It depends on the market that you're in.
Okay.
Right? It really does. So anywhere between 8 to 12% is pretty much average right now. I have one lender that I pay 15% and I will choose him over the 8% guy almost 9 times out of 10, just because he's such a critical team member. I don't care if I give him more money.
Right.
His focus is for me to succeed, period. And then he gets paid. Right. So he's just such a great team member and so easy to work with that I will pay him extra. So it's a matter of finding those people that you can build those relationships and it becomes critical. He doesn't lend to anybody in Philly except for me.
Oh, wow. That's because he ain't meet me yet.
You can slide me his number if you want, Holly.
Huh?
So you can slide me his number if you want. So you don't have to be alone in Philly. I'm doing this for you, you know, so you don't have to be alone.
You know what? He would probably love for me to give you his number. So I will do that. Let's connect.
Okay.
Connect there. Let's see, how are you sourcing out your money and capital today? What do you suggest for somebody new trying to get into a fix and flip?
For someone new, I teach a class called How to Build $1 Million Real Estate Portfolio in 1 year. We just did it this past weekend, and I decided to do it 4 times a year. So this was the first one for the year. I decided to have a business credit expert come in. And that wasn't something that I leveraged at the start of my journey, but my students are finding it to be an incredible tool. So definitely, if you're starting out, even if you don't know what you're doing, start to establish your business credit. You can get tons of trade lines. You can get unsecured, secure trade lines. You can get credit cards. So for example, you could, find a good deal and get a hard money lender. Hard money lenders, they're more expensive because the money is easier and they will lend to you if your financial position, picture is not perfect. So you can get a hard money lender who will fund 100% of construction and 75% of the purchase, and then use a credit card for that 25%. So let's say you're buying a house that's, $60,000, you only need, 25% of that to off a credit card to come to the closing table with. So you can totally leverage business credit, and it's not in your name. That's the beautiful thing about it. So your credit's not fluctuating. And if you did need to leverage credit, or if you did need to take out some credit to improve your personal credit, you could do that as well. Because, the best rates you're going to get when you personally guarantee it with your personal credit. So that could be a great way as well. But definitely creative financing is the way to go. Getting some type of lender, even if you have the money, getting a hard money lender, building that relationship, and then putting that together with either a private lender or family. You guys will be shocked, folks listening, you'll be shocked at the money that's out here. It's people all around you have money. They just haven't told you, or they're not flashy, and they're not, driving the fancy cars. They might not live in the best house. But a lot of people have like retirement savings, 401k. I definitely encourage you to be extra careful if you're taking someone's retirement. And I'm sure they would be extra careful about giving it to you if they didn't feel like you knew what you were doing. But, or there are folks who maybe got an inheritance, or people might get a chunk of cash for their tax return. Or there's some people who are just savers. There are tons of people who are just savers, and they have chunks of cash sitting in the bank that's technically losing money, even though they might get 0.00001%, return for having their money sitting in the bank. Because of inflation, they're actually losing value on that money that's sitting in there. So if you can help them understand that, and really to do that, because because folks are like, well, how do I find these people? Really, one of the best things is for them to come to you. So you should always be sharing. When I started out investing, I was a closet real estate investor. I have, even though I've been full-time going on 6 years now, I started investing 14 years ago. Nobody knew anything. It wasn't until I started sharing maybe 4 or 5 years ago that this whole thing has turned into, just incredible.
Not to cut you off.
People.
I said not to cut you off, but guys, stay tuned, because we're going to share everybody's contacts. I know that Tia, you have a lot of knowledge as far as mentorship. I'm sure a lot of people are really interested. So not to cut you off, we're just short on time, because I definitely want to hear how Dave is sourcing his capital pretty much, and also what you suggest for somebody new listening, how they could get started, Dave.
I'll talk about, more importantly, like if you're starting new, I would recommend using a hard money lender that is smaller, that have experience, because they actually become your mentors, right? They have resources, they have contractors. You just got to find a deal, because I've coached a lot of people and gotten them from scratch. So I would say that, especially when I first started off, obviously I knew nothing, but I didn't know anything to know that I knew nothing. I thought I knew everything at that moment, because I was just so happy. But if you're starting off, one of the things is be responsible with people's money. And the best thing to do is have some structure. Hard money lenders are not going to give you money unless it's a good deal. Hard money lenders got, contractors. They're going to give you money only when they think it's a good deal. So basically, they can be your mentor step by step. And that's how I recommend people starting off, working with people that actually have money, that have been doing the business before, or lending money, or someone like a Tia that, that's another option. She could teach you along the way if you find a good deal. What I do is, today I got the money, I have access to money. And the answer to the first question was, the more you do, I run into a lot of private investors, and they got money. So a lot of times it's all about finding a deal. I have the relationships. You got to find someone that knows what they're doing, and you'll learn real quick whether or not you know what you're doing, because they're going to tell you, no, I'm not going to lend you money. And you'll be like, why? Get this to this price. And they're like, oh, you learn step by step. And I think I recommend that as, for newbies, because you don't know what you don't know.
Thanks, Dave. All right, guys. I know that you guys got a lot of information tonight. I know you probably have a lot of questions still. You probably want to connect one-on-one with one of the panelists. We'll drop their information so that you can reach out to them and try to get them in a one-on-one. We also want to leave room for your questions that you have interested, but I also want to remind you that February 20th, if you guys really like this topic and want more out of it, February 20th from 9 to 5, we're having an all-day event on just fix and flip. So it's a fix and flip summit catered to just this topic. I encourage you guys to join tonight. Get your tickets. Reason why is if you're not a member of this private community, you get to have access to this fix and flip summit along with joining the membership tonight for a package deal of $97. So as you guys can see below, real estate fixandflipsummit.com. Get your tickets tonight, because I believe Nick said people are buying it, so you don't want to miss out. You definitely don't want to miss out, and you don't want to buy the day of, because the price is going to go up. The price is going to go up. So if you want to get into fix and flip, learn how to save money now. This is a really good action by attending this summit and kind of digging deep more, getting your answers to your questions. And yeah, $97, guys. Don't lose out on this great deal. So Elijah, let's get into some Q&A. We have some great questions.
All right, Shanita asks, Holly, did you have any money in savings before your first deal? I heard you say you had $1,000. Did you have anything else?
Yeah, I had about another $59. So
There you go.
$1,059 to my name. We won't get into details of why I only had $1,059 to my name, but that was it. And so it was a leap of faith.
We love it.
Yeah.
All right, Janelle asks, great content, guys. Do you guys set up businesses before you started flipping? So do you guys have LLCs before you got into the fix and flip? We heard their stories. Some of them set up businesses, but I'm assuming she's asking about LLCs.
I did not.
I
didn't know that that's the thing you should be doing. And I'm just buying it and then selling it. So, yeah, I didn't know any better. So I didn't.
Nope.
Yeah.
Wow. I like all your answers.
So did you guys buy your first property underneath your personal name?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So
I don't recommend that to the viewers that are out there.
Right.
Yeah, that's what we did.
And then today, what's different about today, real quick?
No,
I get so many LLCs. I mean, I've lost count of how many LLCs I have. I just created 2 last week. So I get out because I'm buying mostly. So someone put it to me like this, because I have a buddy, he only does single family houses and he'll put several under each LLC. But someone said with a multifamily property, so let's say it's a quad, you have 4 layers of liability there with 4 different people. You should not combine multiple multifamily properties under one LLC. And so I'm creating LLCs left and right.
Guys, if you want to learn more about that, how you should really start, Fix and Flip Summit.
All right. So, Tia, what was the pivot you took when you realized all the taxes you had to pay from flipping? This is an in-depth conversation, Dan.
It's a BRRRR, baby, BRRRR. So I didn't know a whole lot about the BRRRR strategy, but when I learned about it, it was a way for me to do the same work, exact same work. I would, find the property, buy it, fix it up, but instead of selling it, I would rent it out Then I would go to the bank and say, hey, bank, I spent this money. I want all my money back. Plus, I would have equity in the property. So then I would rent it out, collect the monthly cash flow, pull some equity from the property. The equity, feels just like the profits you get from flipping, except I don't have to pay taxes on it. And then the debt that's created from that, the tenant pays down that debt over time. So that is what I pivoted to, holding the property. And, look, especially if you're buying in areas where the values are going up quickly, you're going to drive past that house that you sold 5-10 years later and regret it in many cases. So that's what I started to do, Dan. I started to hold the properties.
All right, we got a hot question here from Steven. This looks like a deal that he's working on. How do you guys go about trying to fix up a property? The parent that owned it has passed, and the other parent's name is not on the deed. So I think before fixing it, how would you guys find the owner on this? Anybody want to take a shot at it?
I would definitely suggest he work with a title company as well that can help educate him along this process, because I know that if the other parent's not on the deed, if they do have like marriage certificates and stuff, that would assist the title company. But again, my ultimate suggestion is go to a reputable title company that can educate you on this matter.
Yeah, because you got to find the heirs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right, next question. Dana says, question back. Oh, 100% financing. We got you, Dana. We covered that. Holly, are you getting good interest rates on loans with LLCs?
Well, it depends on what you consider a good interest rate. Everything I'm getting is below 5%. I consider that pretty good for an LLC, right? So I'm like anywhere from the loan that I have for the 6-unit building that I'm purchasing is 3.99%. So yeah, I considering it's commercial, I'm like, awesome, take it. It's not the 2.5% you're getting at residential, but I'm very happy with it. My cash out refis now, like, so when I buy a duplex, like I'm refining a duplex now to take all my cash out, that's at like 4.5%. So
Oh, great.
That's a no doc loan, so I don't have to like give them anything.
What? That's a good interest.
It's simple.
Money is cheap, baby. Come on.
It's
great.
Yeah.
All right, Atia, Dan asked, if people want to learn more about your classes, where do you recommend they go?
So you can go to the realestatereset.com. Again, the realestatereset.com.
Do you want to text that to me in the private chat? Text it to me in the private chat.
Sure thing. And then you can just click on Investor Workshop.
All right, guys.
Coming up April 24th and 25th.
So next class is April 24th to 25th. Final 2 questions here. So Dave, a few people are asking this question, Dave. They want to know kind of what books you may have started off with, but I think more importantly, I mean, you've read a lot of books. You've talked to a lot of very well-known professionals in Philadelphia. What would you kind of recommend, if someone did want to read or they wanted to invest into something? What do you think, a first option would be based off your personal experience?
I mean, today, that was 15 years ago. So, right. I mean, those books are like old school, I learned a lot of things. But today I would say like Nick Tang, he has superinvestors.com. Like he has a lot of content in there that pretty much really good and broken down. So I recommend like Nick Tang's content today. That's why I'm on this podcast, because I'm a firm believer and I follow some of the stuff that he says is very detailed. There's a lot of videos to watch, and it's cheap. It's cheap.
Dave's famous line. All right, guys, let's make this the last question, and I'd like for all of you guys to answer it. So loved hearing all of your guys. Dev says, loved hearing all your guys' experience. With the knowledge that you guys have now, what is one piece of information you guys would tell yourselves when y'all just started off? We'll start with Holly on this one.
Oh, no, start with Atia.
What? What, Holly? Since you're going to give me that good hookup, you got it. So I'll go first. So Honestly, I would say mentorship because I could have got a lot further, a lot faster. I am self-taught in real estate. I've never had a real estate mentor. It's interesting. So this year is 10 years in business for me. I've always had a business mentor, but I never had a real estate mentor. I felt comfortable enough to just go at it myself. But looking back, I realized I could have got a lot further, a lot faster. Knowing about, I would have skipped that year flipping, to be honest. And then, went into holding property and then just having the resources. And sometimes we don't want to invest in ourselves, because a lot of real estate mentors, they might ask for thousands, but in real estate, it's no money. If you're going to spend $1,000, $2,000 for a course or for information, you'll lose that by not knowing how to negotiate a contract, by not, knowing how to negotiate the purchase price, by not picking the right contractor, by not watching your guys properly, by not budget. I mean, it's so many different places where you can lose money in real estate investing. So I would have invested in mentorship. I would have gotten a lot further, a lot faster.
Agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave?
Me?
Holly, you ready? Wait, is Holly ready? I gotta ask. All right, come on, Holly.
No, I'm not a speaker here, but no, I totally agree with Atia on mentorship because it's invaluable, especially if it's somebody that's doing what you want to do and they're doing it now. The knowledge and information they have is invaluable. But the other thing is it's a business. You're not just buying a house and fixing it and flipping it. So get your SOPs in place, know how to get your scope of works together, your standard operating procedures, and know how it's going to flow. So that, because if you don't treat it like a business from the beginning, it gets too tedious to put all that information together so that you can grow that business. So that's something to do for sure.
All right, Dave.
That's spot on.
Question to you.
So my advice would be, take it one step at a time. I wouldn't start off with fix and flips, to be honest, because after the amount of money that I went over on budget, man, you can lose 40 grand like this, easy. So, it's great. It makes great profit, but I would start off and make sure that you have money in the bank first. I would wholesale. I would be a real estate agent. I would do something to get surrounded with people that's actually doing it where you can learn it. But I wouldn't just jump into fix and flip if I could tell myself what to do, because I'm an explorer. And I'll tell you that mentorship is the way. Follow someone that done it many, many times. And that's the same advice as Atia, mentorship, if you want to do it.
Thank you for that, Dave, Holly, and Atia. So guys, it's 8:38. I want to be respectful to everybody's time. It's getting late. If you guys got a lot of value out of this, please consider the Fix and Flip Summit coming up February 20th. Tonight you're getting a really good special. It's $97 to join the community and also get access to that Fix and Flip Summit, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. February 20th. This is a private community, guys. And if you really enjoyed yourself today, this is where, I come and I learn from a lot of the great investors in Philly right now on what they're doing. And this is just one topic of real estate. If you guys really want to learn more, whether it's buying, wholesaling, maybe lending, if you have money, you want to learn how to get a return, this is the place to be. Being part of the Philadelphia Real Estate Investors Association, given to us by Nick Tang, is really a blessing. For me, I've grown a lot because Dave Tran, I know you shared a post last year when you first spoke. I guess we were at City Line, and I was in the front row as a participant. And it's just a blessing that Nick has enabled me to host and learn even further being on this podcast with all of you. And guys, if you love to stay locked in, stay tuned. This is a monthly thing, $97, guys. See you February 20th. Really excited for that. And Elijah, thank you for co-hosting. Is there anything you want to say before we end the night?
No, guys, hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. Hey, do us a quick favor, right? If you guys got any value from this, make sure you guys share this, all right? Like it, comment down below, and we're coming to you guys every other week. We're bringing you guys content. We're trying to bring the best people possible. And as you can see, as you heard from Holly, David, and Atia, and Sean, right? They're bringing you real life experiences that you won't find anywhere else other than on these calls, baby. Woo-hoo!
Yeah, good night, guys.
Night.
Stay warm. February 20th. I'll see you there. $97. Sign up.